3 decades is, well, that's a long time for a game to be going strong.
And it's not just going, it's like, it left a mark.
It's a testament, really. Like, it shows how much Need for Speed really did change things. We were talking crazy adrenaline, those insane chases, and of course, some of the sweetest cars ever seen in a video game.
Speaking of sweet, can we just talk about 1994 for a second?
Oh man, back when things were simpler.
I mean, yeah. But think about it. The first Need for Speed dropped the same year the original PlayStation was coming out in Japan. Talk about a 1-2 punch. Both totally changed their worlds, like gaming and, well, entertainment as a whole.
That's kind of wild, if you put it that way. Need for Speed. Actually, it started on the 3DO. Yeah, that console. It was actually Time Magazine's 1993 Product of the Year. But it crashed and burned. Hard. But Need for Speed, man, it took off. Ended up on PC, PlayStation, Sega Saturn. Everywhere.
So what made it such a smash hit? Especially with the 3DO tanking like that. Was it the marketing? Or the gameplay? Or something else entirely?
I think it just nailed that arcade racing vibe. Fast, exciting, and for the time, the graphics were awesome.
Yeah, you can't argue with that.
But what really made Need for Speed different, even back then, was that it wasn't just about the racing.
Right, you had those cop chases and dodging through traffic.
Yeah, which other games had, but Need for Speed made it core, you know, like the key part.
Totally. It was like more than just winning. It was about that feeling of like pushing your luck and your car to the limit.
Pushing it till you break it or get busted. Adrenaline, man.
And come on, the cars. It was like a 90s supercar dream team. Lamborghini Diablo, Ferrari 512 TR, Jaguar XJ220, McLaren F1. Even the covers were different, depending on where you lived. Like, the Australian version had some local favorites, which is pretty cool when you think about it.
Yeah, definitely. Imagine seeing your dream car right there on the cover of a game you can actually play. That's smart. Taps right into that local pride.
Like that Top Gear article you sent over said each car had this crazy intro video with rock music, some sax thrown in for good measure, and with the Ferrari, what sounded like a very unhappy horse. Oh, the 90s.
They don't make them like they used to.
But Need for Speed wasn't just showing off fancy cars, it was building this whole culture of risk, like pushing the limits, you know?
Totally. First you're dodging traffic, then it's outrunning the cops, then you're literally betting your car in those pink slip races.
Yeah.
High stakes. They kept up in the ante for sure.
And then, bam, Need for Speed Underground hits the scene in 2003, a total game changer.
Oh yeah, Underground.
Yeah.
Totally different vibe. It was all about that Fast and the Furious energy, which was blowing up back then. Forget supercars and fancy locations. This was street racing. Custom rides, neon, drifting through the city.
Even added drag racing, which was a big change.
Oh yeah, for sure. Totally different energy. And it totally worked.
And 2 years later, they dropped Need for Speed, Most Wanted, in 2005. Still the best-selling game in the whole series. That's insane.
Yeah, Most Wanted was huge. They brought back the cop chases, but way more intense, like part of the whole story.
And didn't they even put one of their developers in the game?
Yeah, Justin Weeb. He was the studio design director at Ripple Effect at the time. He ended up as Taz, racer number 14 on the blacklist.
Oh, that's right. Imagine playing and not realizing you're racing against one of the guys who actually made the game.
Yeah.
But it hasn't always been smooth sailing for Need for Speed.
Yeah, they've definitely had some swings and misses.
Need for Speed, The Run, they really went all out with that one. On-foot sections, quick-time events, not your typical racing game stuff.
The Run was different. But even if it wasn't a massive hit, it still found its fans.
And to their credit, they're not afraid to experiment.
Exactly. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But they're always trying new stuff, pushing those boundaries. That's got to count for something, right?
Totally. And think about how much work goes into something like car customization. We're so used to it now, but it's crazy complicated.
Oh man, tell me about it. I read this interview with Frankie Yip. He's been a senior vehicle artist with the franchise for like 20 years.
Yeah.
He was talking about just making a body kit. It's insane. You have to model each individual part, like dozens of them.
Wait, so each spoiler, bumper, side skirt, all of it?
All of it. And then they had to make sure they all fit together perfectly in any combination.
Talk about a jigsaw puzzle.
Oh, right.
And it's all happening with cars going 200 miles per hour. It's mind-blowing.
Right. And then, on top of that, they've got to make a game that works for fans who've been playing since the beginning and people who are just picking it up for the first time. That's a lot of different tastes and expectations to juggle.
Seriously. Some want a super realistic sim, others just want to drift and blast music. How do you even make everyone happy?
It's almost impossible. I read that Bryn Allman, the vehicle art director, talked about how tough it is to try and please everyone. It's a constant challenge. So where does that leave Need for Speed? After 30 years, all these different versions, experiments that worked and some that didn't, can it still give us that rush, that adrenaline, that fun? What does it even mean to be Need for Speed in a world where gaming and car culture have changed so much? We'll dig into all that right after this.
Well, one thing that stayed the same through it all is making players feel like a total badass when they're driving.
Oh yeah, like you're in control, you're the king of the road.
Right. There was this interview with Patrick Conradi, a producer at Criterion, and he was saying no matter what direction they take Need for Speed in, it always comes back to that feeling, the power and freedom of driving a fast car.
It's true. It doesn't matter if you're outrunning cops, drifting like crazy, or just cruising. Need for Speed makes you feel cool. Totally. And that's probably why so many people still love it.
So what's the biggest challenge for the series then, if it's got that magic formula?
He actually said it's its own history.
Whoa, how so?
Think about it, right? There have been so many Need for Speed games, and they're all kind of different. Each one has its own fans, its own vibe.
You've got the underground crew, the most wanted diehards, and don't forget the Porsche Unleashed people.
Oh yeah, they're serious about that one.
Yeah. So how did the developers make a new game? Are they always trying to make everyone happy?
It's a tough one, man. Honorati even said they have big debates within the team about which game is the best.
Oh, I bet.
And when they try new stuff, people compare it to the old games. Good and bad,
So they're damned if they do, damned if they don't.
It's like trying to ride a unicycle on a tightrope.
Yeah.
And then you've got the new players who didn't grow up with the old games. How do you make a game that works for everyone?
It's pretty wild that the series is still going 30 years later. Do you think it's just the love of fast cars?
I think it's more than that. It's the fun, the excitement, that feeling of being cool, like we talked about. Even the games that weren't perfect hits, they usually had something special going on.
So what's next for Need for Speed? Can it recapture that magic? Or will it keep being pulled in different directions by the fans?
That's the million-dollar question. But I'm hopeful, as long as they keep innovating, taking chances, and staying true to what makes this series great, I think it'll be fine.
And who knows, maybe we'll see those Australian cars make a comeback.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That'd be awesome. Imagine ripping through the outback in a Holden Commodore.
That's the dream right there.
Yeah.
But for now, let's talk about you, the listener. What's Need for Speed mean to you? What are your favorite moments? What makes it special?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about how one game series can mean so many different things to different people. Like, for some, it's pure nostalgia. Those late nights, hanging with friends, trying to beat each other's best times. Yeah, for sure. Good times. For others, it's a way to, live out those car fantasies, Driving cars they could only dream of owning in real life.
I mean, who hasn't fantasized about taking a Lamborghini Diablo for a spin? Even if it's just in a game, it's still awesome.
Totally. But like we've been talking about, it's more than just driving. It's about that whole culture, the customization, building your dream car, making it perfect, showing off your style. It's part of what Need for Speed is all about.
It's like an art form almost. You're creating something unique. And it makes you wonder, how much has Need for Speed influenced real-world car trends?
Oh, for sure. It's had an impact.
I mean, think about it. The whole tuner scene, the crazy customizations people do, even the way cars are shown in movies and TV.
It's like Need for Speed helped make that stuff cool, even if it wasn't intentional.
And even the games that weren't huge hits, like The Run, they show the developers are always trying new stuff.
Right, pushing the boundaries, even if it doesn't always work perfectly. The Run, it wasn't for everyone, but it was different. And who knows, maybe someday they'll revisit some of those ideas, find a way to make them work.
I guess that's what keeps Need for Speed going. It never gets stale, always changing, evolving, keeping things fresh.
It's pretty impressive. 30 years, and it's still going strong.
Yeah.
So what do you think the next 30 years will hold?
I have no idea, but I'm excited to find out.
Faster cars, for sure. Crazier stunts, even more realistic worlds. But in the end, it's always going to come back to that feeling, right? Being behind the wheel, pushing it to the limit, living life in the fast lane.
That's a great way to put it. Well, it's been awesome diving into Need for Speed with you, exploring its history, its impact, all that good stuff.
Likewise. And hey, listeners, remember, whether you're a veteran or just starting out, there's always a reason to hop behind the wheel and feel that Need for Speed rush.
Absolutely. And on that note, we'll catch you all next time.